never sell your voice, but rent it instead. Now, what does that mean? So I'm talking to you if you are a voiceover, an actor, a performer, but also if you are a speaker in any industry, if you're doing coaching, if you work with your voice because you're a podcast host, any type of creative content or services that you may not think is creative, but really it is, and it definitely use your voice. So that'll be the case if you are a journalist, a teacher, even a salesperson will be doing a lot of recorded or broadcast materials in the context of their work. If this is you, when you're negotiating your contract, your gigs, your jobs with your client, then at the moment you are negotiating the fee, i.e. the price you're going to be paid for the work, the location, the specifications, when it comes down to your intellectual property rights and other rights, avoid agreeing to an assignment, which is the legal term for buyout, whereby you're transferring all of your rights across to the client, whether they're the intermediary or the end client themselves, and you're retaining none of that ownership and control over your voice as well as any other materials you're handing over to yourself. Instead, what you should opt for is a license wherever possible, and limit the scope and the terms of that license to the specific project you were booked for, the specific time that the clients will need it or duration that they'll need to use and engage your voice and the recorded materials that came with it, and make sure that the remuneration or the fee you've negotiated matches that usage and length of time as well as the project that your voice will be integrated to or used for. And when you're agreeing to a license on limited terms instead of a buyout, also known as an assignment for lawyers, you are agreeing to renting your voice instead of selling it. It's a really important distinction, especially in a world now that includes generative AI. AI models can be trained on input data like recordings of your voice or previous performances, whether they're streamed, live, broadcast, or any format, analog or digital, in order to create similar content, including clones of your voice. And when you give your rights away through a buyout, also known as an assignment, when you're selling your voice in the context of this analogy, you are also potentially giving consent for other people like your clients and any of their commercial collaborators to use your voice for the training of AI models or the imitation that they can generate of your own content. And so if you don't want that to happen, the best thing to do is to agree to a license. It's one of the reasons why, and there are many other ones, that it's always better for you to use a license instead of an assignment. Now you may be asking, buyouts and assignments are standard in my industry. How do I negotiate another term with my client? Well, the best thing to do is to ask why. Interrogate, ask, be curious as to why your clients want an assignment or a buyout instead of a license. Often it's because perhaps they do not know that another alternative is available. So you can introduce it, present it, educate them on that. Sometimes it's because they think it's the best way for them to achieve what they want to do. And again, that often is not true. A license can do as much as an assignment because it can be perfectly tailored to your client's project whilst retaining the base level of ownership and control that you need in your own business or as a person, in order to feel like you've secured your business, your creative practice in terms of future-proofing it, or you've aligned it to your own values. You want to retain control over your voice, and you want any imitations and reuse of that voice to require your consent or re-permission every time it's used out of context. And most clients will absolutely understand that. They understand how personal someone's voice is to their identity, to their work, and to how they present themselves in the context of their art or their business. So it's really rare that you'll get a pushback on that, and often the reason for that pushback will be a misunderstanding as to the difference between an assignment and a well-written license, and maybe also misconceptions around what one does over the other. And so your place here, the most powerful argument or thing you can do in this context is to educate your client, explain why for you it's important that it's a license instead of an assignment, and why and how well a license can work in the context of this client. Because when you do that, you bring your interest and their interest very much in line around the same tool, which in this case is a license. If it helps, use the analogy. I don't want to sell my voice, I'm happy renting it. And you can explain that the project, the need that they have of your voice is only going to be happening within a limited amount of time. And your usage and the remuneration will be calculated according to that. So it's even working out, or should work out, cheaper for them to agree to a license of your voice instead of a full buyout. And here you have another argument that might sway them. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you feel a little bit more empowered and supported in conducting your own negotiations. And if you want to have more of this type of content, go to my website, mathildepavis.com, sign up to my newsletter, and you'll receive those videos and anything else I create and make available for creative professionals, artists, tech developers online, often for free, directly into your inbox. I am Dr. Mathilde Pavis. I am a lawyer in your corner, and I make it my mission to make sure that artists, creative professionals, tech developers know their rights, use their rights, and monetize them where appropriate. I think it's really important in a climate that we have today with fast changing technologies like AI that we understand where we all stand, what the law says, how we want to use our rights, and how we can move forward together in a trusting and collaborative way forward.